Hi, welcome to another episode of G's Tite Lines. So today is episode 2 of the start of my renovation of this old gear that I've recently acquired. So as you can see on the table here in front of me, I've got the Hardy Marquis. So I'm not going to deal with the case today. All we're going to deal with is the reel itself. So there she is. As we saw the other day, she's in good nick. But a little bit of TLC won't do any harm. So all I'm going to do today is I've got a number of products here in front of me. I've got some dashboard cleaning wipes for cleaning the line. Good old WD-40. Some pen oil. And some Sierra line cleaning agent. And then an old cloth and a brush for getting off bits of debris and moving around that oil. So first of all the older Hardys and the Hardy Marquis have got this catch release here for the spool. So I'm just going to release the spool without catching the line and take that away. So we're just going to put that to one side for the moment. And I've just got an old spool of line here, and I'm just going to use this to stow the line away and out of harm's way while we clean the spool. So as you can see, the reel itself has got a small amount of backing. So I'm just going to check the condition of that. If that hasn't gone brittle, then that will also get reloaded up onto the line. Interesting old school way there of attaching your line to your backing. So you can see it's being attached using a whipping tool and then varnished over. So I'm going to cut that off with a scalpel blade, and I'll redo that. Okay, so there's the line out the way, and then this back in. I think I'm going to leave that on there actually. Right, so I'll leave the backing on there out the way. So, as you can see, the spool itself is in relatively good condition. Got quite a bit of dirt and debris on the inside here, as you'd expect to see from where the line's been retrieved. So all I'm going to very simply do, just take one of these wipes. Brilliant for cleaning your bikes, these as well actually. Put that to one side, and then with a pinky I can just get in. There we go, look. And just clean all that debris out of there. There you go, look, you can see how dirty that is already. Cloth, just get off that excess residue. There we go, that's beautiful now. So with the WD, going to put a small squirt here onto the cloth. Literally, that's all I need. Just to help me clean up this wheel in the middle. There you go. Perfect. That's that clean already. Quite a difference, eh? So now work on the face of the spool. Same again, I'll just get my wipe. Just get it right in here into the corners. This actually, to be fair, isn't all that dirty. Dirty. That's the spool done now. Beautifully clean on both inside edges and on the handle too. So we can put that to one side for now and then onto the main body of the reel. So as you can see, there is, I'll use a pointy stick. On the inside here is quite a bit of debris along this edge here. All the areas you'd expect to see where the line's being retrieved back into the spool and it's picking up debris off the ground. So before this brush gets wet, all I'm going to do is very simply just brush this off. If I had either an air compressor or a tin of compressed air, I'd give this a squirt now. But I haven't, so I can't. The main reason I'm doing this is once I've put the WD-40 on the cloth, what I don't want is any stone fragments or debris getting rubbed into this metal face and damaging it. So that looks pretty good to me. Okay, so you can still see here we've got bits of debris. There's some quite thick grease marks there and around the spool spindle, and on the inside there on the ratchet mechanism. So what I'm going to do is take the trusty old rag again, wipe, and just work it into the corners. And as you'd expect, it's pretty minging, but not that minging to be fair. The ratchet mechanism on this for the drag, it's immaculate. There's hardly any wear on there whatsoever. So as you can see, if I turn the button there, that's what adjusts the tension on the spool for the fighting drag. And normally these teeth here, if it's undergone quite a battering, sometimes almost smooth. It's almost rounded them off, and they're still in very, very good condition. The integrity of them hasn't been shot at all, which is nice to see. Right, so on here, on this aluminium work there's some, it's not corrosion, but slight pitting. So what I'm going to do is, once I've degreased this and cleaned it with these wipes, is I'll get the residue of this off, and then with the WD just allow it to soak on there for a minute or two, just to give it some protection and a bit of a fighting chance. Look how that's just cleaned up. Shiny. So as I mentioned on my first episode of this series, my intention, once this has all been given a good thorough going over, is to fish it. In a week I will be heading north by road to our SAR base in Stornoway for the week, and I'm hoping, certainly my intention is to have all of these items finished by then, so that I can go and fish some of the wild lochs on the island in between work, using this old kit, and catch some wild brown trout. Right, I could go one step further and I could take this protective shoe off here for the line run, but I'm not going to, purely and simply because A, it's not too grubby around it, but also I don't want to run the risk of losing that studded screw there, and I just don't want to tamper with it too much and run the risk of cocking it up. So I'm going to keep it in situ. My old man used to say FFTU, fiddling things up. And sometimes less is more. So what I'm going to do now, once I've got all this residue off from the wipes, is just take a small squirt of the WD, actually just enough to wet my fingertip, and I'm just going to work it into this working mechanism for the ratchet, for the spool, and that is cleaning up beautifully. Right, so while that's soaking in on the inside working parts there, all the external parts, with a clean part of the cloth, I'm just going to give it a good rub down and allow that to absorb some of the WD. And it's quite important to remember if you're doing a restoration on old or new pieces of kit, if you're using WD, don't lamper it on there. Only use it sparingly, because if you don't remove it all, when it comes to oiling and greasing, WD will allow that barrier. It will set a barrier between your oils and grease and the material. So basically all you're doing is putting chemicals on top of oil and grease, because it won't absorb into the metal, and you're not actually going to allow it to do what it's designed to do on the tin. So just give it a minute or two to absorb in to the working parts to protect them, and then once you're happy that it's off as far as it can, just give it a thorough wipe. But what I'll do in between oiling this and putting it back together, we'll leave it just to allow any excess residue of the WD to evaporate even. There you go, that's still coming off. Just going to put some lights on proceeding, see if that makes any difference. How's that? Is that better? That's better, isn't it? There we go. Right, I'm happy with that. In fact, I'm very happy with that. I'll just give that a twist around and then get under that side of there. And just take your time with it, guys. Don't. These things have got years of dirt and grime, so don't rush it. Just take your time and make sure you're happy with what you've done and that it's being done properly. Because these bits of kit deserve the time and attention. Okay, brilliant. Well, I'm really happy with that now. Already looks like a different reel. So between there and there, that's great, doesn't it? So I'm going to put these two to one side for now, and then I'm going to just concentrate for 10 minutes with the line. Okay. So all I'm going to do with this line, as you can see, it's really badly pigtailed, and this will happen to any fly line that's stored over time under tension. It's just the memory of the material, it will just always spring back. But this is also quite dry, as you'd expect to find with a newish line. So with these wipes, all I'm going to do for the length of the line is just run it through. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'll just run that all the way through until it's all untangled. And I'll probably end up with a knotted mess on the floor, which is what I was trying to avoid by spooling it onto there. There we go. Right, so that's the line pulled through now, and look at the state of that. Looks like someone's had a nasty accident, doesn't it? So I'm just going to get this last bit again. Make sure I'm happy with it. And all I'm going to do again is just run that all the way back through. But this time with my left hand, I've got quite a bit of tension on that line. That's all putting through there nicely now. And that another good run through of the condition, and as you can see, that's now got very little memory on it, and it's now laying nice and flat. So I'm just leaving that line aside for 10 minutes or so, allow it to absorb that condition. Just trying to hang it on the drawer handle there. It's easier said than done. Right guys, so that's the line done. I'm happy where the line is now. So that's just sitting in the tray below me, just soaking up all that conditioner nicely. So I'm just going to leave that to one side. So with the body, once we're happy that all the residue of that WD-40 is gone, take your pen precision oil or similar. Two teardrops of oil on there. I'm going to take my brush so you can see nothing excessive. I'm not lampering this, and I'm just going to gently work that into these working parts of the reel. Now the reason I'm not going crazy is those fly anglers amongst you, watch out for those little blighters, look, loose hairs on the brush. Well no, in all the environments we fish, generally speaking, unless you're using a line tray, you know, yards and yards and yards of fly line trailing on the ground, picking up mud, dirt, grass, small dogs, you name it, it's picking it up. And then we're pulling all that back into the spool, and all of that muck, if this is overly excessively lubricated, it's going to hold it, and inevitably this is going to get damaged. It's going to get debris put into it, and as we're rotating the reel, it's going to damage it. So that is more than excessive. I'm going to let that soak in for a second, and then with the spool, all I'm going to do on the back face of this here and on this cog, I'm not going to, might use a touch more on there, is I'm just going to brush this, and this is purely for protection, just to give it a protective coat against the elements, just in case it ever comes into contact with any salt. It'll just give it a fighting chance of not rotting. Okay, and then what I am going to do is just take another small teardrop and add it here onto the cog. Just run it around. I'm just going to gently brush that in there. Get it underneath. Work it into the teeth of the cog. and then sit that to one side to soak in. Right, so that's had ample time now. So what I'm going to do is take a non-greasy part of the cloth and just wipe away the excess of this oil. I don't want to remove this oil. All I want to simply do is remove the excess, like I say, because we don't want the debris getting caught in there and building up. And quite often I'll have people send reels to me to just give a bit of an overhaul, and you open it up and you think, oh my god, and it's lagged in grease, thick grease, normally bike axle grease. It's got half a beach stuck to it, and you think, god, no wonder the blinking drag doesn't work. So just be quite conservative with it. Don't lamp it on there, and just think what you're trying to achieve by putting the oil on. Yes, you want these things lubricated for a smooth run, but also we want to protect, we fish in harsh conditions, we fish in harsh environments, normally salty coastal environments, and we want these things protected. So that's that. And then the same on the spool. Just going to wipe off this excess. What I don't want to do is get any oil grease in there, so I don't want it sitting on my line. Okay, so I'm really happy with that. Just spotted a little bit of excess there. Let's go over that again. So let's put this together and let's have a look. Now what we want is a nice positive click there. Oh, okay, ready, steady, beautiful. That is so much better, isn't it, guys? It feels so much smoother as well. Excellent, excellent, Smithers. So now take this spool back off. Even the spool release is working better. Do you know what I am going to do? Is just put in a very, very small drop in there. Just going to hold that, not even a teardrop. I'm just going to let that work in. Into there. Brilliant, 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 brilliant. Right, where's the end of the backing? Easy for me to say. Ready? Brilliant. So I'm going to take the end of the back in there, find the end of my line, which I can't. Right. So I'm going to do braid to leader. So all we do is I give that 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, and then come back 3, 1, 2, 3. Make sure this goes back through the same way you went in originally. Grab your tag end. Okay, and then just work that up. That's never going to go anywhere. Right, there we go. So that's that spooled up now, and it looks so much better. It feels so much better. It winds so much better. So that's the reel done, guys. I'm just going to get all those nozzle fingerprints put back there. Let's give it one last wipe over. And I think anybody would be proud and happy to have that in their tackle box. I know certainly for one thing I am. Okay, so there you go. That's the Hardy Marquis 6-weight. Cleaned and ready to rumble. Happy days. So guys, thanks for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this episode on giving this a bit of a facelift. Episode 3 will be on the rod. So as we said before, my intention with the rod is just to give that handle a soak on the cork, give it a sand down, give it a new lease of life. And then with the blanks, I'm going to contemplate sanding them down with a real fine paper, emery paper, and then refinishing both halves of the rod. Not a massive amount of work needs doing. I think in terms of keeping it as original as possible, I'm not going to change those eyes. So that'll be a fairly straightforward video. And then the big project is going to be restoring that bag, getting some life back into that material and the leather and cleaning it up and giving it some just desserts really for what it deserves. Alright guys, so thanks for joining me. As always, stay safe, tight lines. Thank you very much. Please don't forget to hit subscribe. Please don't forget to hit the bell so you don't miss the notifications when the videos are coming out. And I'll see you all very soon. Tight lines.